Hey everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin' His Racing podcast brought to you by NASCAR. We're in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs after a wonderful season. We're in the playoffs. We have two more races before we whittle it down to a field of 12. The next up is the Hollywood Casino 400 from Kansas on Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time on USA. Then it's Bristol. Then we get down to 12 drivers. Then we go on to the next one. So it's heating up. We're going to be talking about cut lines. We're going to be talking about people who are in. You got to catch all the action. This Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on USA, it's the Hollywood Casino 400. Previously, the Hollywood Casino 400 brought to you by Barstool Sportsbook, but we all know what's happening there. So Hollywood Casino from Kansas on Sunday. How you doing, Spider? Everything good?
Yeah, super good. Happy Labor Day.
Absolutely.
I always get Labor Day and Memorial Day mixed up, so I wanted to make sure I was saying the right one. But yeah, beautiful weekend.
Yeah,
great race. So pumped to be back.
So it's myself, it's Spider, it's Liam. It's also Mike who's sitting in, who's been helping us out. Quiggs isn't here. He's packing away all his white jeans, right? Because no more white jeans after Labor Day. Huge white jean guy. I don't know if you know that about Quiggs. So he switches over to corduroys, and he goes strictly corduroys from Labor Day into Memorial Day. We'll start with headlines as we normally do. Everyone was kind of waiting for it. It finally dropped. Denny signs his contract extension with Joe Gibbs Racing. This is a multi-year contract extension. This isn't any kind of surprise. And as Denny had said, the rest of the pieces fall into place after he gets through with the Joe Gibbs part. So almost immediately, Denny's 2311 racing team had announced that they'll remain under the Toyota banner, right? So he announced that on Actions Detrimental. So Denny Hamlin seems to be putting all of his ducks in a row, and we're extremely happy about that because obviously Denny is one of our favorite guests. The second headline was actually a tweet. It was from a driver who he's not a regular on the truck series, on the Craftsman Truck Series. He only does about 5 or 6 races this season, but his name is Stephen Malozzi. Maybe Malozzi, but I believe it's Stephen Malozzi. He's at Driver Malotz, Mallozz. He just tweeted this out. I found this to be pretty fascinating. I know you love this story too, Spider. I'm going to tell everybody about it. This was his tweet. So if you ever wondered what it's like being a small-time racing driver, yesterday I drove myself to Martinsville Speedway at 7 a.m. I raced in a NASCAR trucks race for AM Racing. I drove myself back to my apartment, getting back around 3 a.m., and now I'm serving at Outback. And the picture is of him out at Outback where he's a waiter. And I believe he's been a waiter for a long time. I thought I had read he's been there since like 2003 or something. Which we love.
I don't think he's that old.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe you're right. How can he be there since 2003? Yeah, so he's been there since he was 10. But either way, I think he's been there for a long time. And the thing is, we love these types of stories. We spoke to Haley Deegan, and she told us, just how expensive it is to be part of any kind of racing organization. And the Truck Series obviously is one of those. And after this tweet had dropped and had gotten passed around, Outback decided to step up. So right after it was announced that Outback Steakhouse will serve as a primary marketing partner for the number 22 AM Racing Ford F-150 for the UNOH 200 presented by Ohio Logistics in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Bristol, Tennessee on Thursday, September 14th. So this is a happy ending. Not a happy ending, but it's a good story. He works at Outback. Outback saw that he's busting his ass in order to get some time behind the wheel in the Truck Series. So now he's going to be driving the Outback truck at Bristol on September 14th. What do we think about this, Spider?
I got a lot of feels.
Please.
I love Outback, first of all.
Sorry.
And I love that their team stepped up and is actually sponsoring him, because we know how much these drivers struggle with finding people to sponsor their cars and get the funding to even compete in the races. And then also I love this move from Steven. Did you say his first name was?
Steven.
Yeah, so Steven, he's a dog. So a lot of NASCAR is generational race families that, their dad raced, or, their cousin or uncle or someone's involved in the sport. I'm not sure that's the case here. This seems to be a first-generation driver, and he's doing it his own way, whether that means bussing tables at Outback or, grinding on a simulator. He's he's done what it takes. So I don't know how you can't hear the story and not feel good about it.
Once I retweeted this, I actually went to his website and I bought one of his t-shirts. Shout out having t-shirts up to 4XL, by the way. And similar to those Ross Chastain t-shirts with the smiling watermelon, his t-shirts have the smiling blooming onion.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's on my Twitter if you guys want to follow. He'd hit me. He's like, there's actually more to the story. It's pretty interesting if you guys want to have me on. So we're going to try to get a Zoom with him sometime before Bristol. So we'll try and get him on. And again, Stephen Malazzi, he'll be driving the number 22 Outback truck on September 14th down in Bristol. I love stories like that. Expect some follow-up from us because we relish that shit. And the other big headline from this week is dropped last night on Race Hub, and we knew about it beforehand, by the way. Okay, I want everyone to know that even though Spider has gotten some reputation as somebody who spills the beans whenever the fuck he wants to, we've been sitting on this. Hunter Nemechek was announced as the replacement for Noah Gragson. So they announced it last night, and they said as soon as it hits, you guys will be one of the first to market. So today we're sitting down with John Hunter in 3 Wide. We're going to go 3 Wide with Hunter Nemechek a little bit later on the show to talk to him about this great news. It's great news for him. The kid's got a great story, so I'm looking forward to that. Again, this is a very pro Noah Gragson podcast. We're hoping only good things from Noah, and we can't wait for the announcement whenever he makes his announcement on what he's doing next. If we could scoop that, fuck it. We'll scoop the shit out of that, right, Sven?
Hell yeah.
But this one is one that we're very proud that Legacy had reached out to us and are giving us one of the first cracks at this young man. And I'm sure he's going to be doing a car wash with just about every media outlet that covers NASCAR. But the timing of when the news dropped, which was on Wednesday night at 6:45 or so, and the timing when our podcast drops, which is Thursday morning, 6:45 around, just worked out so well. So we're going to have John Hunter come on in just a little bit and give us an idea of what's going on with him. But before that, we got to recap. We got to recap what had gone on this weekend at Darlington Raceway. And the first thing I'm going to say right away, Darlington Raceway sold out for the 74th Cookout Southern 500. And I sound like a broken record, but NASCAR is selling out just about every week. So, I don't know. It's a hot sport, and it's covered by only hot guys, myself and Spider. Denny had a weekend. He raced in the Xfinity on Saturday, and he won. I think it was first Xfinity race of the year that he had won. Then he comes out strong on Sunday and dominates. He didn't dominate, but he was the fastest car, winning stage 1 and 2. Then he had a bad pit stop late, which left him with a loose wheel. Did you see that, Spider?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the loose wheel. I saw him drop back deep in the field when I had him to win the race, so that was a little tough to watch.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Libshawn Q had the winner, right?
Of course he did.
Yeah, he hit on Larson. And again, when people see those standings, know that he doesn't have to give his picks when he skips the taping until later. So he's more empirical evidence. I put an asterisk next to it. But the thing was, Denny comes in for a pit, goes out, feels that the wheel is a little bit loose, and so he has to make the decision. Is this going to be a problem? Because obviously if your wheel pops out, it becomes a huge problem. Fines and all this kind of stuff that happens. So he makes the decision to say the wheel is loose. I don't know if they detected any type of loose wheel. So that's kind of a mystery. But
his pit crew, his guys kept saying that the wheel's like not loose. It's not loose.
Yeah.
They were like debating with him.
So what is that? Now, does that mean that Denny made the wrong call? Was he being more safe? Listen, he picked up a bunch of points. Winning stage 1 and stage 2. So it wasn't a total loss to Denny. But Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and Tyler Reddick were the 3 fastest cars this weekend. I think that was pretty apparent. And Denny was right out front. So it was something that essentially cost him the race to a degree. Obviously, he had some other stuff going on during the race. So what do you think? Do you think that just all falls firmly on the shoulders of a panicky Denny Hamlin?
No, I think if anything, he's being cautious. He had the car to win this race, and something was obviously wrong in the car. It might not have been a loose wheel, but Denny can only report back what he's experiencing. So I think he told his team, hey, I think we have a loose wheel. Something feels off. And it seemed like they were like going back and forth about it. So, and then Denny sunk like a rock and finished 25th. So
Yeah. Kyle Larson picks up his third win of the season. It's his 22nd career win, but it's his first at Darlington. I think he's raced at Darlington a dozen times. He's had a couple of second-place finishes, a couple of P2s, but he finally gets the win at Darlington, and that punches his ticket to the round of 12. The top four were Larson, Byron, Reddick, and Buscher. And right now the bottom four in the standings are Bubba, Harvick, Ricky, and McDowell. Let's talk about that for a second. Remember we were talking about last week who we thought on the bubble will not make it into the round of 12?
Yeah.
Are we seeing, like, after this first week and knowing where we're going right now, like, Bubba actually picked up points. Right? Bubba picked up some points this weekend, but he's still in that bottom four. How do we feel about that bottom four? And do you think that might be the four that get cut by the end of, so what do we have? We have this weekend in Kansas and Bristol. Do you think those guys, either of those guys, Bubba, Harvick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., or McDowell, you think those guys are going to be able to punch a ticket to round of 12?
I am very concerned about all of them aside from Bubba Wallace. I would say he has the best chance. We're headed to Kansas, a track where he's shown speed and success on previously. So Bubba, I feel good about. Harvick, on the other hand, I look at this past weekend as was his opportunity to win. He had an unbelievable car, and he got caught in some shit with Tyler Reddick that was 100% not his fault as they tried to get down to pit road, which ultimately cost Harvick where this race, basically. And then McDowell I think he was the first playoff contender out in this weekend's race. So I think he's got an uphill battle. And then Stenhouse, he looked good this weekend, respectively, but at the same time, I don't know. Someone's got to be cut. And if Harvick, Ricky, McDowell, I would be concerned about.
I think there was a lot of sloppiness this week. Maybe a lot of bad luck. Like Martin was saying how he just couldn't get it together. He had a loose wheel also. Ricky was speeding in the pits. You can't do that when it comes down to the playoffs and you're in the bottom four. Harvick had that thing with pit rows closed. I had seen Brad Keselowski talking about it yesterday. I think it was after the McDowell crash. They closed pit row as Harvick was going through it, but it was clearly blinking that pit row was closed. And Keselowski had given some pretty good perspective about how much vision they have, with the way that the seats are set up and with the visors that they're looking out, that Harvick probably just didn't see it, right? But either way, it cost the guy. And then, obviously, Bell was on the pole, but he fell off the jack, right, during one of the pits. There was a lot of sloppiness in pit row and beyond.
Bell's pit crew was allegedly, weren't they just switched with Ty Gibbs once Ty didn't make the playoffs? So that's the better of the two pit crews, and Bell is still struggling to get help on pit road. So frustrating for the 20 car.
Yeah, it just seemed like there was a lot of sloppiness in there. So, I mean, I don't change my position on who I think is in and who I think is out week to week. But right now, I think you're right. If people don't tighten this shit up, then they almost deserve to go, right? Like, you have to be running some flawless races. We'll talk about a couple other pit crews in a second. What did you see this weekend that impressed you? Give me your overs and your unders from Darlington, from the track that's too tough to tame. Was there anything there that jumped out?
Yeah, so Reddick finishing P2 again in a Jumpman UNC scheme.
Yeah.
Every time he's in a Jumpman car, I know there's maybe like one or two instances where this isn't true, but it always seems like he's got a hot rod when Jordan's on his car. He delivered with a top 3. He finished second here. And then Bubba, his teammate, I was impressed with as well. He spun early in the race and finished 7th. And then, as I just said, he's headed to Kansas this weekend where he's had success. I feel pretty bullish on what I saw from 2311 this past weekend. And then Harvick 19th. Not necessarily the finishing position that I'm taking the over on, but compared to what we've seen from Kevin Harvick this season, it looked like he had a top 5 car for a good portion of this race until he was messed up and caught up in that Tyler Reddick incident. So I liked what I saw from Harvick. And then Larson, you obviously have to give him some respect. His 3rd win of the season. Another guy that I have a championship future on. So I got Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, William Byron. So if any of those guys make it, I'd be happy. Congrats to Kyle Larson on punching his ticket to round of 12. Chris Buescher, you got to show some love for. He finished 3rd he's been probably the driver to beat for the last like 2 months in NASCAR. So RFK has found really good speed. Brad K finishing sixth. I like what I saw from both their cars this week. And then arguably my biggest one, we've seen the 42 car struggle when it was wheeled by whoever, whatever sub driver you want to name, or Noah Gragson, for example. Carson Hocevar comes in, he puts that thing 15th after qualifying, starts 15th on the grid, and finishes the race 17th. That's the most encouraging thing I've seen from the 42 car to date. Well, I shouldn't say that. This season. So, yeah, really impressed with Carson Hocevar, and I think, super encouraging to see where he's at, and hopefully he'll be in the Cup Series soon enough.
I love
what I miss.
I love numbers, and the thing when you said about Buescher with his P3, so listen to this. It makes 5 top 7 finishes in the last 6 races. So out of the last 6 races, he was 7th or better 5 times. That's outstanding. It really is. Like he's the guy to beat. He's as competitive as all hell, and I find that to be pretty impressive. One guy that you didn't mention was William Byron, and I'm not even going to mention William Byron. I'm going to mention his pit crew. Byron went and had 7 pit stops on Sunday, and 4 out of those 7 were 9 seconds or better. We're in the 9-second realm, I should say. And I'm not saying all of them were full pits, 4 tires and the whole deal, but William Byron's pit crew, on a night where we saw that pit crews made the difference for certain drivers, consistently shout out to William Byron and his crew. Eric Jones, I think, is the fastest driver right now in the worst car. I think he's doing more with that Chevy with very little support, knowing that they're going to kick over to Toyota next year. And I think Eric Jones is racing his balls off. And so, not a playoff driver, but I think he's worth mentioning.
I meant to include him in my over, especially because we cashed the top 10 that I gave on the show.
That's right. You had the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with a P10 finish, you cashed. And then the only person I'm going to say to add to the unders is the lighting crew at Darlington. That's disgraceful. Yeah. I mean,
pay your bills.
At some point, I think Kyle Larson had said, "Don't they have a fucking generator? Like something?" So the lights, so it was a red flag on lap 189 to repair the lights that had not come on in turns 3 and 4. And that's disgraceful. Like talking to Harvick about it, he's like, when I'm coming around turn 1 and 2 and I can see exactly where the wall is, then you have to readjust your eyes to 3 and 4, especially on a tricky track like Darlington where everyone gets their stripe, all that kind of bullshit. That's just kind of disgraceful. So a big under to those guys. Before we move on from Darlington, there's a little bit of beef brewing, and I'm here for it. Bowman versus Suarez. So Bowman had thrown a double block on Daniel Suarez during the race, and it wound up being bad news for Daniel. And afterwards, he had said that Bowman was dumb. And then Bowman had said, "Oh yeah, well, one of your crew members had flipped me the bird at some point when I was heading to an airport. You're dumb." So we have 2 drivers saying, basically saying that each of them is dumb. Bowman was wrong in this situation. I don't know if you watched the double block on that thing, but it probably shouldn't have been done that way. So I'm probably Team Suarez here.
Oh yeah, you guys know I'm going to be Team Suarez. I mean, just a crazy move to try to expect to be allowed to make that block. The second block, I should say. I could understand the first one. I probably wouldn't have done it. I mean, they're both racing in the top 10, and they worked their way up to get there. So the second block was just egregious, though. And then to kind of go on TV and not really take responsibility, kind of blame Daniel and his pit crew, and also the pit crew got his he declined. He said that tweet, or like he said that it was wrong. He was like, "I don't remember this happening."
Right.
So I don't know where Bowman's getting this. Maybe he's just making that up or had a dream about it or something. But yeah, definitely Team Suarez. And it seems like that they Hendrick and Trackhouse seem to just keep getting into little skirmishes. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
I'm here
for it.
Playoffs
are heating up.
Yeah. And
not
so
that either of them are in it, but I think little side stories like that make it very entertaining.
But you make a good point, though. Two non-playoff drivers who were playoff drivers last year, probably there's a lot of frustration there, too. So you make some stupid moves or be overly aggressive. I just wish Daniel would have said something more than dumb. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it was super dumb. That Bowman's struggling he's scraping the bottom of the barrel for finishing position all season long. He hasn't looked the same since the back injury, and he's finally in the top 10, and he wants to do that shit. So I'm kind of with Daniel. Super dumb.
Yeah, but Spanish for dumb might have been. I don't even know stupido. I don't know what it is, but just give me something. Give me some sort of flair. All right, so Spider, before we wrap up Darlington and get to John Hunter, we always talk about paint schemes. I'll let you go first. I put a couple of pictures on there. Don't you dare touch that last picture, because it's one of my favorite paint schemes, and it's not by a guy named Ricky Stenhouse Jr., which is surprising for me. What did you see this week?
I'm glad you included that one because I forgot about that one. But my two favorite ones was Harvick's Take 5. The number 4 was looking clean. I love the black and white with the red and blue mixed in there. And then also, I said it earlier, the UNC Tyler Reddick 45 car was so sick. Big jump man on the logo. And as I said, every time there's one of those on the hood, it seems like the car's got way more power. So I think both those things were true. I mean, he finished second, so pretty close. And the thing looks sick. I also can't hear myself in my headphones, so if it sounds like I'm speaking a little funny or like a lisp or anything, just bear with me.
No, you sound fantastic. I'm going to give some love to a couple of guys who wind up being lap cars. I'm going to start with JJ Yeley. He had the 15, the Ollies. Ollies was the stock that I used to trade when I traded retailers, and their slogan was "Good Stuff Cheap." And they put it on his car right next to the little cartoon. Looks kind of like an Einstein character. I thought that was kind of cool for JJ. But the best one probably of the season was BJ McLeod. BJ McLeod is different. He's first of all, he's kind of jacked. Looks like he watches a lot of MMA. You know, he's one of the guys that I had picked if I needed somebody in a bar fight. I like BJ McLeod. I'm looking forward to finally sitting down, having a couple of beers with him, more so, I don't even know if he drinks, but more so than even having him on the show. And BJ McLeod had the Affliction car this weekend, the 78. And Affliction is for guys who have way too many tattoos and watch way too much MMA, so it's filled with like zombies and skulls and all this kind of tattoo artistry all over the car, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. I love the fact that BJ was driving it. I haven't seen any ahead of this week in Kansas, so we can save it for next week. But huge shout out to McLeod and the Affliction 78. All right, so with that, let's go talk to the guy who got some very good news last night. All right, so as advertised, we're about to go 3 wide with Hunter Nemechek. This brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, and specifically Coke Zero Sugar, has been a staple with me and Spider throughout this NASCAR season. Also with Quicks to a certain degree. So we drank way too many of them down in Florida the other day, right? They gave away like 8,000 of these at the race. We had a great time. We become part of the Coke family of podcasters, and we're glad to do it. And we're so appreciative of their sponsorship. So is this the best Coke ever? There's only one way to know. Go out and try one. All right, so like I said, we have a big guest today. Big guest, breaking news, timely interview. When people need something done, what they do is they bring in an assassin. And sometimes when they bring in an assassin, that assassin has 3 names. Lee Harvey Oswald jumps to mind right away. I don't know if he was the lone gunman. I don't know anything about it. James Earl Jones, another guy with 3 names. Wasn't an assassin, but he played fucking Darth Vader. That has to stand for something. And right now we have Hunter Nemechek. Hunter Nemechek is coming in with Legacy MC, and he's going to be sitting in Noah Gragson's spot. They were looking to replace, obviously, Noah after all the shit that had gone down. And so they announced last night on Race Hub that John Hunter is going to be in that seat. We're fucking thrilled that they chose him. I'm sure he's thrilled to be there. So he's live with us right now on Rubbing His Racing. First off, congratulations, John Hunter. Congratulations. It's nice to get that bag. And talk to us. Talk to us about how you're feeling right now after that news broke.
Yeah, thank you, Large. Appreciate you guys having me on, first off. But super excited, super stoked to be a part of Legacy Motor Club. Was welcome to the club yesterday. Being able to be a part of this team and to watch it go through so many transitions over the last few years, but to have some key people in place for the future here at Legacy MC, the swap to Toyota TRD. There's a lot of things in motion here, and for me, I feel really, really good about the situation that I'm in. I feel really good about the opportunity that I have here at Legacy MC. And most of all, the bet that I took on myself to move from the Cup Series back to the Truck Series and try and revamp career and get back to the Cup Series is all paying off.
Can you talk about that and just your experience, the kind of full circle? So going back to Truck Series and now finally here at Cup, what has that whole experience been like? And if there's one piece of advice you're trying to give someone trying to climb up the ranks in NASCAR, what would it be, given you've done it?
Bet on yourself. If you feel like you can do it, go out there and do it. Don't take anything for granted. You never know where you may end up. So just hard work, perseverance, determination, dedication. You have to have all of it in order to succeed. And for myself, it's definitely a dream come true to be back in the Cup Series. But the risk, the bet, whatever you want to say, that I took on myself with Toyota alongside, and Kyle Busch for giving me the opportunity to come back to the Truck Series with Toyota. It was a huge risk, to be honest with you. Everyone expected me to go win. And that's what I wanted to do. With going back to the Truck Series, being in great equipment, you had to go out and prove yourself. You had to go win races. And luckily we were able to do so. And then in the Xfinity Series in 2021, I think we won with JGR. And this year, 2023, has been really good as well. So still have to go try and win a championship, and all our eyes are set on that. But the whole dream and the vision that we had coming back within the Toyota camp and taking that risk is all paying off.
What changed? I mean, so from you being a 22-year-old guy who then goes down to try and hone the weapon, right, to sharpen the weapon to get back. What's changed between now? So I guess it's almost 3-4 years, right? Between 22 being 26. What's changed that's going to make a difference this time around?
Experience, just life lessons, growing personally, professionally, having 2 kids now, married, settled down. There's a lot that has changed for me in those 4 years. But I think most of all, it's already having had the opportunity to go Cup racing, you kind of know what to expect going into it. And I feel like when a young guy comes in and tries to go Cup racing, they are almost blindsided by everything that comes with that, how much time it takes, the effort that it takes, and really just honing in on your skills and experience and trying to build that notebook. And for me, being able to have been a part of that, have that experience, and continue to progress after leaving the Cup Series, I feel like I've changed as a driver as well. I don't think that my speed has gotten any less, which is good, but I feel like I've become a smarter, more experienced race car driver, and I put myself in different positions than I would have when I was 21, 22 years old.
Spider, did you hear what he said there? Married with kids. It does one of two things. You get married, you have kids, it either kills you, which is what it's doing to me slowly, or it makes you a better person and better at your job because it gives you a little bit of motivation, right? I mean, your baby is still, fresh out, right? I mean, so it just gives you an idea of what you're doing all this hard work for. So it's science to me. It killed me. I'm glad that it's motivating you.
Well, I appreciate that.
What do you got, Spider?
Yeah, I want to know how important manufacturer loyalty is in NASCAR. So watching on TV, we don't really understand how significant those relationships are. And then now we see, obviously, you've been loyal to Toyota, or they've been loyal to you since the KBM days, now running Xfinity with Joe Gibbs Racing. And then next year, as Legacy moves to Toyota, like, how was this credit to Toyota? Do you think this move could have happened if Legacy was still running Chevys? How important is manufacturer loyalty for drivers?
I think manufacturer loyalty is huge, not only from a driver perspective, but from a manufacturer perspective as well. So I actually started my NASCAR career at 16 with Toyota. I made my debut in a Toyota Tundra, and then since had moved to Chevy, and was with Ford for 1 year, and then ended up being back with Toyota. So it's nice to feel like we've come home almost in a full circle, and back in the Toyota camp. But I think loyalty is everything. Like I said, without Toyota, without Kyle at the time with Toyota and pushing me to come back and having the opportunity, I probably wouldn't be in this seat right now. This opportunity probably wouldn't have happened, and I don't know where I would have been. For the legacy side of things, I'm not sure if this opportunity would have presented itself or not, if they weren't swapping to Toyota. Who knows how things would have ended up. I mean, in my mind, I thought I was going back Xfinity racing for another year or two, or whatever it took to get back to the Cup Series. That's what my mindset was, and I was okay with that at the time. I didn't have a timeline on when I needed to be back Cup racing or wanted to be back Cup racing. Obviously you want to get back sooner than later, but at the same time, winning races and being up front and contending for wins and championships is every driver's dream. So I was okay with that mindset, but with the opportunity that presented itself here, I'm really happy. I'm excited, ecstatic to get going on 2024 after trying to go win this Xfinity Series championship this year.
Let's talk a little bit about social media. Because it kind of goes back to the guy that you're replacing. You've built a big following. I mean, over 500,000 people who are following you on YouTube, which is awesome. But as Legacy come in and say, hey, Instagram and Twitter, get the fuck off. Right? Like, I mean, is this one of those things where you kind of know that the stakes are very high? So as you're trying to establish yourself as just an online personality as well as a driver, which I think is extremely important, right? I'm kind of sick of Chase Elliott winning most popular driver every year. We need somebody to kind of go in there and upend him. How's that balance? How careful do you have to be, and how much of a pain in the ass is it for you to keep that going as well as being an accomplished racer?
I do think that you have to be smart about what you do on social media. There's things that you should do and things that you probably shouldn't do. And I feel like every person kind of has their limit within themselves or whatever their personality is. I would say that every driver's personality is different, right? And hopefully we can kind of continue to build this following and go take most popular driver away from Chase. But that's a tough task to accomplish for sure, with the heritage and the legacy that he has in NASCAR. But we're here to create our own legacy here at Legacy Motor Club, and hopefully that's something that we can do.
Coming from a racing family, I'm of the opinion your dad has one of the best racing nicknames ever. Front Row Joe.
Oh, that's awesome. It's an awesome nickname, man.
It's one of the best.
Yeah.
Do you have any nicknames? And is there anything in the works? Can we get you maybe like right behind him in terms of maybe you can be P2 with best nicknames?
Yeah, we can definitely work on that. I don't really think that there's many nicknames out there right now for me. There's not much that is cool like Front Row Joe, right? But at the same time, I've always told him Front Row Joe is cool, but it means that you start up front. It doesn't mean that you finish there. So I'm more about winning races than winning poles.
I love it. Keep him humble.
You just talking shit about Chase Elliott. Now you're talking shit about your own dad. I don't know if this is going to work out, right? Can we call him Cup Hunter Nemechek? Can we do maybe that? Because he's hunting for. I don't know. We'll work on it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. How do you feel? So P3 this week, right? Racing against Denny Hamlin. Right? I believe you were in there against Denny. How'd that feel? Knowing that that's going to be a weekly event come 2024.
I was pissed, to be
bet.
honest. No, we had a really good race at Darlington, being able to run up front, control the race until stage 3, and then losing out there at the end is super frustrating. But you're going to have those days. Being able to race against Denny or any of the Cup guys that come down to the Xfinity Series, it just makes you better. And I'm looking forward to being able to go race those guys every single week in 2024. There's a reason that those guys are in the seats that they're in. There's a reason that those guys are in the Cup Series. They're some of the best drivers, and they've won races. They've proved themselves, and I'm looking forward to earning the respect of those guys in the Cup Series and being able to try and go contend for wins and hopefully championships. So I'm looking forward to racing each and every one of them. It's definitely going to be a tough hill to climb, but I've been there once. I've raced against them once in the Cup Series, and looking forward to doing it again.
What are your expectations for next year in the 42 car? Are there goals you've set for yourself or things that you want to accomplish?
Not yet, to be honest with you. I haven't put much focus on thinking about 2024 quite yet. We set a lot of goals as a 20 team at Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series this year, and things that we wanted to accomplish, and we still haven't accomplished every goal that we've set. So my focus right now is on 2023 and doing everything that we possibly can to win some more races before the year's done and go win this championship for Joe Gibbs Racing and all of my crew guys that work hard on this 20 team. It's full-fledged effort, head down, elbows up, and we're going to continue to dig until the end.
I love that answer.
When we had spoke with the Legacy guys, we had the three guys in before the season, Noah, Eric, and some guy named Jimmy. So it seems in the press release that Jimmy's going to be doing a couple of races again next year, 2024. I know there's some things that sort of got in the way this year, obviously. How does that feel? I mean, are you a starstruck type guy, knowing that you're now going to be teammate and essentially employee of, one of the best to ever do it?
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling to be able to work with Jimmy, alongside Jimmy, underneath Jimmy, however you want to say it. Mm-hmm. Jimmy is a GOAT of this sport. To me, it's 7-time champion. I think he has 90-something Cup wins, which is absolutely amazing accomplishment. And being able to utilize him as a tool, being able to pick his brain, being able to work alongside him and still be able to ask questions. There's a lot that goes into racing from a driver perspective, from watching film or mindset. There's so many different things that can go into it, and being able to have Jimmy and utilize him as a resource, but also have him on the racetrack, still driving, still learning this new car, being able to bounce ideas off of each other. It's huge. I think if Jimmy was more so removed and not racing at all, you can still ask him certain questions, but maybe not as in depth as you could if he's on racetrack with you.
And I know this today is about Legacy and John Hunter Nemechek, of course, but I want to talk about Xfinity pursuit for the championship. What is that going to take? And what storylines are there going on in Xfinity that we should be paying attention to, aside from your success and your 5 wins?
Man, it's going to be tough to win the championship this year. There's a lot of great talent. There's a lot of great cars. There's quite a few cars that have definitely come on strong the last few weeks leading into the playoffs. It's not going to be an easy task. But I feel like we have a great group around myself that can go and compete. As long as we don't beat ourselves and put ourselves in bad positions, then I feel like we should be able to go out there and do the thing. With that being said, I'm sure that you guys can make storylines and different things of that such, from information being spread or whatever it may be, rumors going around the Xfinity Series. But for me, it's limiting outside distractions right now, not focusing on anything else but our 20 team and what's going on, and running our own race every single weekend. We're focused on ourselves, and it's all that you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a great headline and great news, but you still got to go to work with Austin Hill and Allgaier breathing down your neck. Before we let you go, we're going to pivot a little bit. Spider and I are going to try to do 2 things in the offseason. One of them is go to the Chili Bowl, which I hear basically just kills your lungs the second you get in there. But the second one they were going to try to go to this year is down in Pensacola, the Snowball Derby, which I think you won in 2014. Talk to me about that a little bit. People are trying to prepare us for what should be a very, very good time, correct?
Yes, it is a very good time. Are you going down for the whole week-long event? Or
I don't think I'd survive. I don't think I'd survive the whole week. So I'm not sure yet.
You'd be fine. Just go down for the whole week. Enjoy it. The Snowball Derby, as a kid, 13, 14 years old. I think I was 13 when I first ran the Snowball Derby, maybe 14. And you don't really understand how big of a race that is from a historical standpoint, but also how many cars show up, how many of the top guys show up, the fan attendance for short track racing. That's it. It's the Snowball Derby. It's the biggest event of the year. And as I've grown and after winning the Snowball Derby, you start learning more and more about the race as you get older. And it's huge. I mean, the atmosphere down there is absolutely amazing. The fans, everyone camping out. I mean, the campground is absolutely packed. Like, it's standing room only. It's unique. It's such a special event. So for me to be able to win down there and have the Snowball Derby trophy sitting in my house, it's a huge accomplishment. But I can tell you, winning was awesome. Losing, when you've been leading for quite some time, we should have won that thing like 3 or 4 years in a row, and it still stings to this day. But being able to experience the whole week, all the racing that goes on, the pit parties that go on with qualifying draw, there's so much that goes into the qualifying draw. Dew likes to set in at certain times and temperature points in Florida. So when you go and you draw for qualifying, it's always good to go out like middle of the pack. You don't want to go too early. You don't want to go too late, but it's all random draw. So you have no idea where you're going to end up. So there's storylines all week long. There's rivalries all week long. Normally 1 or 2 guys end up getting thrown out in tech at some point during the weekend. I've went through that a couple times. Okay. So that's not, but it's just a fun experience. You guys are absolutely going to love it.
All right. So Legacy had the rebrand last year to Legacy MC, which I love it. I love the logo. Spider and I are big fans of it. It's got like that football feel to it, football club feel to it. And then they just added their newest member, who's Hunter Nemechek. We couldn't be happier for you. John, we wish you all the luck in the world, and we can't wait to have you back in the seat after your first win next season. Good luck with the rest of this season. Odds-on favorite to win. I know he's sandbagging a little bit, but good luck for the rest of this season.
Congratulations.
And nothing but continued success. Thanks, John.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so that's Hunter Nemechek. I get the feeling we're going to have him on a bunch of times. You get that feeling, Spider?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good dude. Great to see what's happening with him, and I'm glad he's getting a shot on the Cup Series.
Yeah,
he certainly deserves it. 5 wins in Xfinity. He's paid his dues. He's worked his way up. Great story all the way around.
And, like he had said, I think having that shot before and then coming back and getting that second chance, probably in better circumstances, front row versus Legacy. You can argue that if you want. I really don't care. Provides him with a certain amount of perspective that other drivers just coming up for the first time don't have. And, the way that he had answered the question, because the way that I said, is there anything different? It's almost disrespectful the way that I had asked it. So the way that he'd given that thing about how the experience that he has, he thinks will help him in 2024, he has me believing. So I'm really looking forward to the jump to Toyota for the whole team. And I'm looking forward to seeing this kid race. And plus, we got to go to Snowball Derby. Thing sounds fucking dope.
We got to go.
Yeah.
But I'm also super bullish on what is going to be Legacy next year between Toyota coming aboard. And obviously, it sounds like Toyota had a little bit to do with today's announcement. So I don't know. I think they're going to put John Hunter in a position where he can succeed. And hopefully that's in a fast Legacy car with Toyota next year.
I think Eric Jones is going to have a better season. I think John Hunter will have a good rookie season, and I think Jimmy will have the opportunity to have driven this next generation car. So hopefully Jimmy is able to put some better numbers on the board on his partial return to NASCAR. Okay, with that, let's go to Kansas. We're going to preview Kansas, and this is brought to you by NASCAR. 1.5 miles, and this one gets wild. Kansas is a very good place very, very good place to watch a race. We were there last year for the Hollywood Casino 400, which Bubba Wallace had won. We were live for that. Then we were in the casino afterwards, gambling our balls off. And then this May race was awesome. For people who don't remember what had happened here in May, there were 37 lead changes from 12 different drivers. This was a record for a 400-mile race on a mile-and-a-half track. 37 lead changes involving 12 drivers. And we got our first ever lap pass for the win at Kansas when Denny had taken Larson. Kind of took Larson into the wall, to be quite honest with you. So this was a very exciting This was a very exciting race in May. We had a wonderful time in this race last year when Bubba won. Oh, by the way, the May race was the one that gave us Ross Chastain punching Noah Gragson in the face. So there was a little bit of everything for everyone at this race. So I need you to tune in to the Hollywood Casino 400 from Kansas on Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern time on USA. And then we're going to go straight from Kansas to Bristol next week, and it's going to be another good one. And I think Kansas is hosting a full schedule of races. I think we have the trucks and the Xfinity there this weekend as well. So a lot to watch in racing this weekend. Spider, we're going to close it with picking the tires. Do you have anything that jumps out at you this week as far as where you want to throw a couple of shekels responsibly?
I like both Denny and Kyle Larson, but I don't think I'm going to take them just because that would be too. I don't know. There's probably obviously a good chance they win. They're both the two favorites of this race, but for whatever reason, I don't want to take them. I like William Byron plus 750 as my main pick of the week.
Byron.
And maybe a little sprinkle on Martin Truex plus 550, but he's almost in the same boat as Denny and Kyle Larson. Too big of a favorite. I think William Byron at plus 750 is good value for a great driver. And that's probably what I'll be rocking with this weekend. I am intrigued by Ford plus 400. Who's the top Ford driver? Chris Buescher, 16-1. And then Brad Kay, 20-1. So, yeah, I guess.
And then Joey right behind him. I mean, you do have a bunch of people in that plus 2,000 range. Like I think plus 400 you're seeing for that Ford bet, right?
Yeah.
There's no value betting the other ones.
If I'm going to take Ford plus 400, I'd rather just take Buescher.
You think so?
Yeah.
But why is that?
You know what? Give me William Byron and Chris Buescher. Buescher's been a rocket ship, dude.
Listen, I love it. Like I just spoke to him. I just spoke about in the past 7 races. He's had 5 top 7s. I mean that's fantastic. So if you're taking Byron to win, and you're taking Buescher to win, plus 750, plus 1,600, respectively, is there anything else that you're looking at?
Yeah, Chris Buescher, top Ford driver, plus 250.
Okay. I got to take that Ford bet then. I have to take plus 400 and get Buescher, Keselowski, Harvick, Blaney, Logano, McDowell, and then, everybody below that, Eric Almirola and below that. I don't mind that bet. I don't mind that bet because it can get froggy in Kansas, so I think I'm going to jump on that. And otherwise, I think I'm going to be pretty chalky, and I like Denny. Denny should have won this weekend. Denny should have swept Darlington with the Xfinity going right into the Cup race, and I think that he's racing as good as anyone not named Chris Buescher. So I'm taking Denny. I'm taking the favorite. I'm taking Denny, the favorite, and I'm taking Ford plus 400. Those are going to be my 2 picks.
I love it. I got one more for you, and I don't see the odds on it for it right now, but I'm sure they'll show up closer to the race time. I want a top 10 on Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, Bubba's probably not going to give you too much for that, can't you think? You think people are going to be top 3, top
10 on Bubba Wallace. Also,
Bubba Wallace top 10 is minus 210. You got to spend money.
I'm revising my card in real time here.
Okay.
William Byron to win, plus 750. Chris Buescher, top Ford, plus 250. And then whatever Bubba Wallace top 10 is.
So right now, Bubba Wallace.
Chevy to win, Ford in there, and then Toyota as well.
Bubba's going to cost you for a top 10 finish. He's minus 210. So you're betting 210 to win 100. Yeah, they.
What's the top 5?
So top 5 for Bubba is plus 150. The books love him.
That.
All right, so I just talked to you. All right. Best Ford is Busher, Bubba for a top 5, William Byron to win. I'm going to take Ford at plus 400, and I'm going to take the favorite in Denny Hamlin in plus 450. The couple of head-to-head matchups, but I just don't want to pay for these driver matchups. But they have like Chris Buescher versus Brad Kay. I love that matchup. Like, I wonder if people like Brad Kay is sick of this shit. He's just going to go right at him. So I'm tempted to grab Brad Kay minus 115 in the head-to-head matchup with Chris Buescher. I know that's a little bit hypocritical of me, but I think Brad Kay, when push comes to shove, he wants to finally get that win. These P2s or being behind his teammate is not working for anymore. All right, so Quakes will fill in the rest of the card and have that out to you guys before the race starts. Thanks so much for watching Rubbin' Is Racing. Spider and I this weekend will be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama for the Alabama-Texas game. I'm going to be hanging out with my son and with his frat. He's in Pike down there in Alabama, so we're going to get involved with them for a couple of things. Big Ev, Dave, Dan, KC, Brandon, the whole crew is going to be down there, so stay tuned for that. And also, before we go, there is something on Barstool's platform that's probably the best produced piece of content we've ever made, and it's called The Most Dangerous Game Show. I don't know how it turned out. Nobody does, but one of the competitors is Spider, and I know how sneakily backhanded he is. So I think he's the dark horse to win as far as I'm concerned. So make sure you tune into that. It's on all the Barstool platforms. With that, that's it for Rubbin' Is Racing. We'll see you guys next week.